Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and welcome to another video. And today I just want to do a really quick book haul and talk to you about some of the books I have acquired recently. So there are 8 books which I have acquired over July, August and September. 4 of them are physical books and 4 of them are ebooks. I've read 4 of them already and the other 4 I'm hoping to read in the next few months. I'm trying really hard to not acquire too many books that I am not going to read for a while, and only acquire books like if I'm actively planning to read them very, very soon, if you see what I mean. So let's get straight into the books, and I will start off with the classics. The first book I want to mention is Passing by Nella Larsen. This is a early 20th century American classic, and this tells the story of the relationship between 2 childhood friends, Irene and Claire. Both Irene and Claire are African American women, but Claire is very pale and passes as white to most people who know her, including her husband, who is very, very racist. And the book follows their relationship between Irene and Claire as their friendship kind of rekindles and has very dramatic consequences for both of them. It is a really, really amazing novel. The ending of this is just absolutely incredible. I feel like this book has one of the best endings of a book I've ever read, but also it's a truly fantastic novel and the character relationships are just really, really interesting. So yeah, I've heard a lot about this book and I've been meaning to pick it up for ages, so I'm very glad I bought it, and yeah, it was fantastic. Another book I acquired recently, which again I have already read, is this. This is The Death of Ivan Ilich by Leo Tolstoy. This is a Penguin Little Black classic. I really enjoy the Penguin Little Black classic series and I do like to buy them from time to time. This contains 2 short stories by Leo Tolstoy, The Death of Ivan Ilich and 3 Deaths, both of which look at death and people coming to terms with their impending death, both of which I really enjoyed, and yeah, always good to build up my collection of Penguin Little Black classics. The next classic I bought in the last couple of months is this. This is Wonderful Adventures of Mrs. Seacole in Many Lands by Mary Seacole. Mary Seacole was a 19th century British Jamaican nurse, and this is her autobiography talking about her experiences travelling around the world being a nurse, and I think she talks about her experiences in the Crimean War as well. So this book originally came out in 1857. I had learned a little bit about Mary Seacole in school, but I didn't know that she had written a book about her experiences until someone mentioned it in the comments on one of my videos, and then when I was looking it up I found out that Powell & Milne Collectors Library had very recently released a new edition of it, and I really enjoy these editions, so I thought I would get my hands on it. Mary Seacole was half Scottish, half Jamaican, and spent a lot of her life in England, so I'm thinking that this counts as Victorian, and I'm hoping that I will pick it up for Victober this year, because I think it should be a really interesting read. Then I also bought myself 2 classics on ebook. One is Gemini by Emile Zola. I have yet to read this, but I'm going to be reading it in September. By the time this video goes up, I might have already read it / be halfway through, because Pauline from Dancing Lawn is hosting a read-along of it during September. This is a 19th century French novel which I believe looks at kind of industrialisation and working class mill workers in 19th century France, so I think it should be really interesting. I've been meaning to read Emile Zola for a really, really long time, so hopefully I will really enjoy this one. And then the next classic I bought on ebook was The Alienist by Machado de Assis. This is a 19th century Brazilian novella that tells the story of a man who starts a psychiatric hospital in a small town and slowly brings more and more people to live in the psychiatric hospital until he becomes convinced that everyone in the world might be insane. I read this at the beginning of August and really loved it. It's a really enjoyable and really fascinating novella, which I thoroughly enjoyed, so I definitely want to read more by him in the future. Then I also bought myself 2 commercial women's fiction novels on ebook in the last few months, both of which were for a book club that I have been doing with some friends of mine, focusing on commercial women's fiction. So the first one was It Started With a Secret by Jill Mansell, which is a rom-com following a young woman who, in order to get a job that is advertised as being for a couple, she and her best friend, who is a gay man, pretend that they are dating in order to get this job. And then of course, while working at this job, our main character meets another man who she might properly want to be romantically involved with. I quite enjoyed this. I thought it was good fun, though I really liked the secret element, and the secret element didn't last as long as I wanted it to, but it was still a really enjoyable read. Then I also bought The Switch by Beth O'Leary, which by the time this video goes up I probably will have already read, and and I read The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary last year and really enjoyed it. I just thought it was such good fun and really compelling, with really wonderful complex themes, as well as like a really lovely love story. So I'm really excited to read The Switch. The Switch, I believe, tells the story of a young woman and her grandmother who are both kind of struggling with their lives, and so they decide to switch homes, and the young woman who's been living in London goes to live in her grandmother's like quiet village, and then her grandmother goes to live in London and like starts dating. It sounds really good fun, so I'm really excited to read that. And finally, there is one other book I have acquired in the last few months, and that is The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel, which is Emily St. John Mandel's new novel. Emily St. John Mandel is one of my absolute favourite authors of all time. I am so excited for The Glass Hotel. I don't know very much about it, except that there's something in it to do with the pyramid scheme of some kind that goes wrong, and it might be slightly speculative. I know that doesn't sound very much to be incredibly excited for a book as much as I am, but I've loved all four of Emily St. John Mandel's previous novels so much. The Lola Quartet, Station 11, and The Singer's Gun, Last Night in Montreal. I love them all. The Lola Quartet and the Station 11 especially, but all of them I just love so much. I love her writing style so much, and I'm just so excited to get to this. I just cannot wait. So I'm hopefully going to read this in September. I think it's going to be amazing. I'm so excited because I adore her writing. She could write about anything and I would read it, I'd be there. And the other thing I love about Emily St. John Mandel is not only is her writing fantastic, but her books also have like really complicated, exciting plots. She does really fun things with like moving around in time. Like her books are often structured really brilliantly, and she has that like perfect balance for me between fantastic writing and themes and characterization that is amazing, but also like a really brilliant plot. So I'm so excited for this. I'm sure I'm gonna love it. I will tell you how I think about it when I get to it. But yeah, very excited for this one. Hello, this is Katie from the future, just adding something into my book haul. As always happens whenever I pre-film a book haul, I then went out and bought 2 books the next week. I was in Bath for a few days and went to Mr. B's Emporium of Reading Delights, which is one of my favourite bookshops, and I bought 2 other books for Victober. This is A Romance of the Shop by Amy Levy, who is a Victorian writer. I've read one book by her before, Reuben Sachs, which I really enjoyed, so I'm looking forward to getting to this hopefully in Victober. It's very short, which is one of the reasons why I picked it up, because I thought it would be nice to have some shorter Victorian reads for Victober. I believe this is a late Victorian novel about 4 single women who decide to open a shop together, which I think should be really interesting, so I'm looking forward to this. And then the other thing I bought from Mr. B's, another thing for Victober, is Mugbee Junction by Charles Dickens. So this is a sort of collection of stories / collaborative project that Dickens worked on with several other writers. So it sort of starts off with a short story, I believe, about this railway station, and then there are like different branches or different like lines coming off the railway station, and each has like a different short story. So the introductory chapters are by Dickens, then one of the stories is by Dickens, and that is The Signalman, which I have read and is a very famous ghost story by Charles Dickens. But then there are 4 other like stories, different lines, by some different Victorian writers who I haven't read much before. Andrew Halliday, Charles Collins, Hesper Stretton and Amelia B. Edwards. I think I've read one thing by Amelia B. Edwards possibly. So yeah, I think this should be quite interesting to see this kind of like collaborative Victorian project. And like I said, I've read The Signalman, but I haven't read the other things by Charles Dickens in here, so I'm looking forward to this very much. And that is all, so thank you very much for watching. Do let me know down below if you've read any of the books that I have acquired recently and what you thought of them, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.